of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain, it's the heart of a villain. Hey yo, heart of a villain beats hard in the centrifuge. Bearded BP, 100 interviews. All it takes is 2 mics and 1 line. This is Bearded Villains podcast worldwide. Driving cross countries, getting ball tires. Fam across ponds, always inspired. Chapters connect, and then it's on fire. Check your phone, cause BV is like a live wire. They said that we couldn't do that. Never underestimate the power of brotherhood. Every bro, every chapter, every caption. Heart of a villain, bro. Lights, camera, action. Action, action, action. Let's go.
Hello, everybody.
From the start to the finish, go hard and we
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of
From the start
what's
to
this
the
thing called
finish,
again?
go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain.
Oh,
It's the
that's
heart
right.
of a villain. From the start
The
to
Heart of a
finish,
Villain,
go
the
hard
podcast
we
and
winning.
live stream
It's the
devoted to the
heart of a
bearded
villain.
villains
It's the
worldwide.
heart of a villain. From the
Hey,
start to the finish,
guys,
go
it
hard
has
and we
been a
winning. It's
minute,
the
it
heart
feels
of a
like.
villain. It's the
I don't
heart
know,
of
do
a
you guys feel that way
villain. From
too?
the start to
Maybe
the
it's just me.
finish, go hard and we
I don't know if
winning.
it's just me or not.
It's the heart.
I've been, man, life. What else can I say? It's been a couple weeks here, and I usually try not to take time off at the end of October or early November because I usually do that at the end of December and then come back in strong at the end of or at the beginning of the new year. And I still plan on doing that. We're going to try to I'm going to try to keep this thing, cruising along here throughout November and into the first few weeks of December before we take a couple week break there for that. But man, it feels a little weird. It's one of those times where you're away just long enough that I have to did I set this up? Did I do this right? Did I set this thing around? Is this mic level right? Is this camera set up right? I'm home. It's weird. It's weird. But hey guys, thank you guys. Those of you who are here live, I've had lots of comments and questions and people reaching out. Hey, we doing something tonight? We doing it? Yeah. I know. I appreciate it. I love the fact that you guys are asking. It's nice to know that the show is not completely irrelevant now after 5 years and that some people still look forward to it. I laugh when I say that, but it's true. So many podcasts don't even last a year, and this thing's lasted 5 years. And there's days when you just kind of wonder, right? And then, the viewership and the listenership goes up and down. And but we have new villains coming in all the time and new people finding the thing. And so there's a constant stream of, not really a stream, but a trickle, I think, really, a trickle of people coming in and out. But yeah, it's always just fun for me. This is kind of like my Zen place every week when I'm able to do this, and not being around here for a couple weeks, it's always felt a little bit weird. So those times when I do have to take a little bit of time away from it. So I do say I apologize, but at the same time, when I do, it's good that I do because it means that I have to focus elsewhere and work, do a few other things, and that's important. So, but I appreciate you guys checking in on me and making sure everything's all good. And we're still rolling along. Regarding tonight, the original plan, and you know how things go, right? This show, if you do the show long enough, you're gonna try to cruise along, and you think you have best laid plans out and everything like that, and then somebody says something or something happens, and then you're like, well, let's pivot. And so I had been planning for the last couple of days to be able to speak with old Mr. Crash over there with the Virginia Villains, talking about their event this weekend. As you know, Beards Away, if you've been paying attention, Beards Away, they're calling it Beards Away 2.0, which is, I don't know. I would have thought Beards Away 5 maybe, because I think it's the 5th year of Beards Away. But so Beards Away, I'll just give the preface of it here that Friday, November 12th is the meet and greet. So when's that? That doesn't make any sense at all. I'm looking at something old. But anyway, they got a event this weekend, and they're doing meet and greet now, and so missing Beards Away, and but the plan was originally to talk about it, and now because I had some stuff pop off at the last minute because of something that happened last week, it flowed into this week, and I had to go pivot, and I had to run an errand that's about an hour away from here and come back, and I wasn't able to make the interview when I wanted to. So what we're gonna do, just to let everybody know, we're gonna pivot, and I'm gonna have Mr. Crash on next weekend for next week's episode. We're gonna be talking about everything that was the event, talking about all the successes and all the fun and everything else that happened, all the good times they had with this event weekend. So I always love doing those episodes too. I like the ones, of course, when we can help promote, but obviously we're so close to it. It's this weekend. I'm not going to be able to promote much, and anything I say behind this microphone ain't going to get anybody there that wasn't already planning on being there. So I figure let's just pivot and let's do it. Let's do it after the fact, so we can celebrate the successes that the weekend was. So that's going to be the plan for next week. So what that means, though, is that this is just going to be another one of those BP just talks and bores himself and bores all of you to death for the time that I'm behind this microphone tonight. So we're pivoting, and we're just trying to think of some things just to kind of get me back behind the microphone to talk for a few minutes. And just, the world has gone crazy over the last several weeks, at least here stateside it has. And I don't like to usually talk politics, and I don't plan on really doing that tonight. But just so much going on in the world, so much going on here for me, with various things going on, and work has been crazy, life has been crazy. I know everybody gets through those moments, and just sometimes they converge at the same time, right? And what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You don't worry about it until there's a reason to worry about it, right? Because all that does is kill the time that you have. And then when something happens and you got to worry about it, then you deal with it then. That's the way I look at it. One of my favorite comedians once said that. So, yeah. So thank you guys for being here after all of that talk. After all that, what was I saying? I don't even know. It's November 8th. We're already into November. I'm just a few days away from the birthday. My birthday. It's my birthday month. We are here for episode 232, which, as I've already said, is not going to be too super exciting unless somebody comes up with a really fun topic for us to just get into live here from the chat. But, and sometimes those things happen. Sometimes those things do happen. Usually it's Rob that comes up with some idea that's been spurring around in his head a little bit. And he's like, let's do that. He likes to, do the old drop the grenade in the room and just see what happens type of thing. And I love it when he does that, because I love the way I love the way that guy's mind works sometimes, not all the time, Rob, not all the time. But, so yeah, this, it's been a time, man. So last week, we had I had a family member that got into a minor car accident, and had to deal with that. Nobody was injured, thankfully. But because of that, then had to help out with car issues, and that furthered things that I had to go do today. And yeah, it just pivots, we had a person that is leaving. Today was their last day at my work. It's somebody that trained me, and so I've been learning a lot of extra little things here and there, and trying to focus and make sure that before this person left today, that I knew everything that I needed to know before I jump in, and I'm fully in charge of the stuff for the state of Indiana in my area for next week and moving forward. And it's been a time, man. It's been a time. And then on top of that, I've been trying to work on some of the final details. I keep saying final details. This thing has drug on, and I know you guys are asking for it. I know you guys are curious when this film is going to come out. I know that everybody has asked about it and is curious and is wondering if this thing's ever going to come out. And yes, it will. The film will come out. It would have been so much easier if there wasn't all the division that happened within BV in the last 6 months. That would have made my life so much easier. If everything that happened, that all the division happened and all that, I would have had it out long ago. And then you hear one thing, and then you see one thing, and then you see people's comments on another thing, and you're like, what do you have to do? And maybe I have to re-edit something and all this other stuff. And I think I've finally gotten to a good headspace where I'm okay. I still have to do one other thing with the with filming of it, just to kind of I don't know how to explain it, but one of these things that I'll be able to tell you guys after the fact, after it's out, what I've done with it. But it's it's been a huge trial, and like I said, I wish it were easier, and I do apologize that it's not out yet, but I have to do justice to what the message is of the film that I have, and I know that there's going to be people that ultimately aren't super satisfied with it. I know there's going to be some people that I interviewed that may not be super satisfied with it, and I'm going to have to just be okay with that, and that's taken something for me to get my head around a little bit too, because ultimately I want to tell the story of what the club has done for the men. I want to tell the story of how other men within the club have changed the lives of other men in the club, and I want to tell that story in as authentic a way as I can without coming off grandiose and without dealing without focusing on some of the negativity that has happened in the last 6 8 months, because I don't think that really I think I've been able to figure out a way to edit it so that that's not to hide anything, because obviously BV is not perfect and the men inside it aren't perfect, but when I'm trying to share the message of positivity of what the club and what the lives of the men involved in that, both the ones that have helped others and the ones that have been helped by others. And when I'm trying to tell that story, that's what I want to focus on. And so that's been a little bit of a trial. It's been a little bit harder than I originally anticipated because of the happenings of the last 6 8 months. So that is something that I'm working on, finalizing the final details of. And then on top of that, just because you know me, have to make life harder than it really is. The theater that I have been working with, the local community theater that I help out with occasionally, or perform at occasionally, and do sound at occasionally, and whatnot. Um, my dumb self raised my hand up and said, "Hey, I'll help out with a really cool project that I know you guys want to do, celebrating the 100th anniversary of this theater." So this community theater that's been in LaPorte now for 100 years next year. Next year starts its 100th year of celebration of shows of performing community theater, which is crazy to think about when you think about just think about 100 years of a community theater. And I've seen some of the old photos, and man, if you're like me, I love black and white photos. There's something about a black and white photo that just it captures the moment so beautifully. Even if there's not motion, it almost feels like there's motion. You just instantly can just feel yourself right back there without any color, just all black and white. And so many of these shows and so many of these photos that I'm seeing from these previous shows back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, it's really cool to see. And so they said that they wanted to do some sort of a video, and they wanted to do a video that celebrated the 100th anniversary and maybe have some interviews with some people. And so one of the board members of the theater saw the trailer that I put out for the film that I'm still working to put out for Bearded Villains, and he said, "This is kind of what I want. This is kind of what we really want to have, just a short little, like 5 to 10 minute little video that talks about the history of the theater that we can show during the 100th year celebration." And I said, "Sure, I can do that. Just give me a handful of people that you plan on doing that you would like to have interviewed, and I can piece together some interviews and do all the stuff and make it look really nice." And so, yeah, I of course stepped up and said, "I'll do it because I think it would be a lot of fun, and I think I could do a good job with it." And so, on top of the increase of things that I've had to focus on at work, on top of the stuff that I've been trying to increase and focus on here at home, the situations that pop up here at home, And then on top of the trying to find the time and the space to try and put the final bits on the film for BEV that I'm working on, I also have now this new project that I'm also working on for the theater our goal is to try and have that done by February, late January is the hope. So I've had to find some time to jump around town and film a couple of interviews. I have 3 or 4 more interviews over the course of the next 5-6 days, next week, that I have to do as well. So yeah, it's BP's plate has filled up, but it's a neat feeling. It's nice. It's all things that I love to do. So, but yeah, that's where. If you're wondering what I've been up to, that's that. And then on top of that, just 2.5 weeks ago, our chapter here in Northern Indiana finished up our Ezra Crow event, the Return of Ezra Crow number 4. In preparation for next week, we get to celebrate our 4th year anniversary of a chapter, and then last week we got to go and distribute the checks and the snack items that we collected, and all the proceeds, with the checks, we got to distribute those to the 2 Ronald McDonald houses of Northern Indiana. And yeah, it's been a really fun, really busy time. Just jumping around, and I've had a blast with it. But just busy. And so I apologize if sometimes it feels like, or it seems like, old BP is pushing the podcast aside. But it's the one thing that I don't want to have pushed to the side. But it's the thing that if I have to push something to the side because everything else piles up into it, I feel like if I need to make something up, or if I need to, justify or something like that, I can always do the podcast another evening or something like that. So I try to give everybody enough leniency. The ones that plan on watching this and spending some time with me on a Thursday or Friday night, I try to give you a little heads up if I know that there's going to be a schedule change or something like that. But ultimately, I apologize for this on my own, because sometimes it's just not, it doesn't happen as quickly as I hope. And then I get in the middle of something, and I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to post something. We're doing a show tomorrow night, not tonight. So bear with me. You would think after 5 years of this, I'd be better at it by now. You would think after 5 years, I would have a better handle on scheduling things and doing things, but you just get in a set in your way, and you know how to do things, and it's so much easier for me to pivot now. I will say that, as opposed to like 3 years ago, if I did, if I had to pivot really quickly, with a half hour to go or with an hour to go, I got super stressed and I just would cancel. Or if, I would get super duper stressed. And now it's like, oh, this doesn't work. Okay, let's just do this then. Okay, we're gonna go live now. Boom, now we're live. So that part of it is much nicer. I just pivot and go. Part of that is because all of you are so understanding. You just don't care. I think sometimes you're just like, hey, let's just hang out. And I wish this were a situation where I could have all of you that love to listen to this live, that just take a little bit of time out of an evening. I wish that this was just us hanging around by a campfire, and every one of us had a microphone in front of us. Well, not you, Rob. We'd have to pick and choose when you'd get the mic. But yeah, little Dane and all of our other guys that are here tonight, we'll give you a microphone and we could just sit and talk. Heck, I'd even give one to Lurch. But so I guess what I'm saying here, guys, is I really appreciate you, and I love you for being here. I love you for the support you continue to give, even when it doesn't seem like I'm doing a great job at deserving it, for sure. So thank you guys again. I do want to give a shout out, of course, to everyone that is hanging out with us tonight live. And there are a handful of you out there, so I do appreciate it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, good sir. First one to join us tonight once again. He says, hey, BP, guess what? BV London has an almighty amount of new merch out, as does Bigfoot. Yes, I've seen that, and I planned on mentioning part of what you're talking about. I did not know that Bigfoot, other than a new product casing, I guess Bigfoot also has some new product lines out. So you and I'll have to talk. Send me some information, and I can do an updated, because of course we have the Bigfoot promo here at the show. But I want to update that based off of what's new and mighty in the land of Bigfoot for sure. I'll get that taken care of. Good evening, brothers, says Jake Clancy. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you here. Good to see you. Little Dane is hanging out with us as well. Good evening. Lots of brother love from the little Dane. Yeah. Every time I see him typing that, I just feel like I'm instantly transported back to the 70s or the late 60s, early 70s. Lots of brother love. Something like that, right? I apologize. Got me even choked up laughing as I said it. Good to see you here, buddy. Good to see you. Love it, love it, love it. Mr. Dave Ramsey's hanging out with us as well. How you doing, good sir? Good to see you here. Good to see you here. What is up with the veteran to Valhalla? He's driving home to the sensual sounds of BP. Hey, for you, brother, I think I have to come up with my own or your own audio version of the podcast. I'll get some dulcet tones going through here, and maybe I'll do something to make it easier for you to just sit back, relax, and enjoy your night as you listen to The Heart of a Villain. Maybe that's what I need to do. I love it. Good to see you. Good to see you here. As I said, Lurch is hanging out with us as well. What is up? What's up? What's up? Mike, good to see you here, buddy. Good evening, everybody, he says. Yes, yes. Now he's spinning. Dana's spinning. Yes, good to see you all. Buddy's hanging out with us as well. Good evening, good sir. And so is Mr. Ed Deering from Northern Indiana. Good to see you here. He even apologized for being late. Look at that. You don't have to apologize for being late here. We just jump in whenever we can, right? There ain't no time frame. Ain't no time frame for us to be here. Rob's here trying to give me some good advice here. Remember, you made it to ensure you're happy with it and enjoy. Others will too. Do not overthink yourself. You know me though, and you know I do. So that's how it is. That's how it is. Man. So anyway, yeah, good times, guys. Good times. I appreciate you being here. It's Rob says, so what you're saying is there's going to be old boxes of old photos for me to flick through my next visit. I don't know, man. Maybe. You'll have to let me know when that next visit's going to be. Cheers, by the way. All right. So, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Well, we are coming in on the end of 2024. And before too long, it's going to be 2025. Can you believe that already? This year flew by, and I can't help but think, some months we talk about, every month it seems like every time I'd come in front of this microphone, it's like, can you believe we're already through this month and through this month? And now we're in November. And this year did fly by, but I look back on it and I think I get this weird feeling. I get this weird feeling that so many of our brothers and our chapters even as a whole, so many of them feel like they didn't do much. It was a weird year. I know financially it's been a weird year for a lot of guys, especially guys that travel a lot, typically, and this year had to cut down on it. And so I know that in the conversations that I've had, both locally here in my state, in my region, in the Midwest here in the States, but also with conversations that I had with guys, from various chapters around the world, there's guys that I've heard the conversation, I've heard the topics. I don't when we feels like we haven't done as much this year. It feels like we didn't travel as much, or I didn't travel as much, and I know that there's an obvious reason for that, and one of them is financial. But one of the other sides to that too is I think now that BV is 10 years old, and I know that this year has been a good year for a few things, that a few new chapters that have popped up. Some of the new chapters that popped up as a result of old chapters leaving, or old chapters vacating, or whatever else, however you want to refer to that. But new chapters, I'm not so much concerned with the circumstances of why old chapters left. I'm more concerned. I'm more focused on celebrating that new chapters exist, right? Because if new chapters are popping up, if new chapters are existing, it's because they want to do something. They want to better. They want to do better for other people and for themselves. And I'm going to celebrate that. I know that there's some hostility sometimes, and there's been some language out there about, some people not being happy about some of the chapters that have popped up. And I don't care about that. I want to celebrate the fact that some of our brothers out there decided to make a step forward. They decided to stand up and say, hey, we want to do better for our community and for ourselves. And so how can you not celebrate that? There's no ego there. There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any ego there. Unfortunately, there is sometimes. But aside from all that, that's some of the positives that have come out. I mean, the growth of some chapters. But the other thing, too, is that it's felt like I've noticed I traveled a little bit less this year than I have in years past. There's a few events that I did not go to this year that I typically do go to. And that was for financial reasons, just like so many others. But I will say, and I said this before, probably a few times, I noticed that attendance in general has been down at a lot of BV events this year. And like I said, I know that finances are a part of it. But I also know, and I also strongly believe, that that's not all it is. That's not all it is. I am concerned because it feels like, from what I have seen at the events that I've been to, there are brothers out there who used to travel even short distances. Even when I say short distances, I'm talking within 4 hours, right? The distance that you can travel in a day. So I think that for some, it's a push to do a 4-hour drive one way, a 4-hour drive back after you do an event, after you go to attend an event. But I still consider that doable, because if you leave in the morning, you can go do the event and you can come home late, and you can make it a day. You don't have to stay the night, right? And so I think that that is a viable thing, but I think that it feels like, and I don't want to be critical. Please do not take this that way. I'm not trying to be critical. What I'm trying to do is try to push us to do better, to do more, to help out our brothers more and more consistently. Because it feels like there's brothers that I have seen make those travel trips. There's brothers out there over the last that I've been around, BV now for almost 8 years. There's brothers that I've seen make those day trips, those 3-hour trips, those 4-hour trips, without even thinking about it, and they no longer do. And I don't know if it's because there's just less interest in them to do that, if it's because they feel like they just don't need to because they used to. But we are here to support each other. And I get that you cannot, and not everybody can make a 10-hour trip. Not everybody can make a weekend out of things. And I get that. But if you live within a 3 or a 4-hour distance from another chapter that's hosting an event, unless they have absolutely done you wrong before, and I get that that may be the case, that happens, we should be out here trying to support each other. We should really be out here trying to support each other, because in the end, we all have pretty much the same goals in mind. Now, I will say this. Leadership matters. Leadership matters. And in my view, this is how we structured Northern Indiana a long time ago. When back in 2020, when Northern Indiana became a chapter, our bylaws actually state that the captain and co-captain have to travel. And if you choose to want to be in one of those roles, you have to be willing to do that. Now, I'm not saying that our chapter is better than anybody else because of that, but I love the fact that it's in there, because the captain and co-captain should be the figurehead, the representatives of your chapter, along with everybody else, obviously. But if there's ever going to be anybody that you have to question, are they a representative of that chapter? It should be along with others, but at the very least, it should be the cap and co-cap. And if there are chapters out there, and I know that there are, that have a captain and a co-cap, that have officer corps in place, and those officers never travel outside of their own area, and yet they still expect other people to come to their event, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. You can't expect other people to come attend your event and show you support and love if you're not willing to do the same for them. And I've seen the conversations in the old line captains chat and the other captains chats. I've seen the conversations. We don't feel like we're getting the support. Well, how many times? And I know it happens sometimes for people that do give the support. I totally get that. I know. I've seen that too. But there's been a lot of that in the last year and a half, where it feels like there are brothers out there who are expecting support when they don't offer the support themselves. And if you are an officer and you're supposed to be in a leadership position, now, if you know me, you know how I feel about this whole thing about officers and leadership positions and all this other stuff. I've yelled it, I've screamed it through this microphone, that you do not need to hold an office or be an officer to be in a leadership capacity or a leadership role. You can be a leader without having the title to your name. Some of the best leaders that we have in BV are not office holders. That's a fact. But if you're going to be one, and you're going to stand up and say, I want to do this, I want to help lead, I want to be a captain or a co-captain of my chapter or another officer, but you never leave your area to represent your chapter, I look at it as a twofold thing, right? It's a twofold proposition when you do this. Number one, you are supporting another chapter. You are supporting another chapter. That's first and foremost. But number two, you're representing your own chapter. Right? Not only are you helping support another chapter as a brother, but you are taking your chapter's name and you are going out and you are supporting some other chapter, representing your chapter. Standing up and saying, our chapter, we support you. We support you and your efforts and your charity endeavors and whatever it is you're here for. We are here for you. And I know that there's chapters out there that only have 5, 6, 7, 8 guys. Not every chapter has 20 or 30 guys. But it's sad, I think, when you do have a chapter that has 20 or 30 guys, and guys never travel outside of an hour away from their house. If that, and they still expect the support. I think it's sad when you have captains that have never traveled to support other chapters. And I'm not saying hop on a plane, but at least get in a car and represent your chapter. and go support another chapter. And if you can't do that, by all means, don't bitch and moan when they don't come to support you. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. Now, I know the economy goes up and down, and you can believe what you want to about who's responsible for that based off your own political beliefs. I get that. But I can say without a shadow of a doubt that in the time that I've been involved in BV, the economy has fluctuated up and down, up and down. And so there will be a time where the money's more where the money's more available, and you could possibly get out there and travel again. And it doesn't mean that you have to travel by yourself either, does it? When I first joined a BV, I used to go on car rides and road trips with 3-4 guys in a car. And it was nothing. You split the cost of the gas. 2 or 3 guys may stay together in a room. I mean, it's a great time. You don't need to travel by yourself and absorb all of that cost yourself, if that's a thing. But don't make excuses. If you don't want to support another chapter, then just acknowledge that. But then don't turn around and wonder why others aren't coming to support you. You know, it's funny because I just before I hit go and I went live for the show today, I realized that this was a topic that I wanted to pivot to and talk a little bit about tonight. And I just so happened to be wearing my Game of Thrones shirt that says "The North Remembers." And I laugh because this is a very big topic that I know that we have had here in Northern Indiana. That we want to be a chapter that supports others. And I think that our chapter over the course of the 4 years, I think that over the course of 4 years, our chapter has done a really good job of doing that. Since 2020, I don't think that anybody who knows us and knows the guys in our chapter could ever question whether we support our brothers. There's been times when we have had, even in a 10 or even a 12 or a 15-man chapter at times, we have had 9, 10 guys roll out 5 hours away. On more than one occasion, and this gives me great pride, on more than one occasion, we have had more chapter members at an event than the host chapter. And it's not a bragging point, but it makes me immensely proud to be a member of a chapter that supports in that manner. And so we look back, and we have had, because I think in a large part, because of the way that we support other chapters, we have received a great amount of support from other chapters. I have seen the guys travel 5, 6, 8 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours to come see us for an event, just for a weekend. I've seen it. I've seen guys travel across the globe, fly in a plane across the globe, across the pond. Rob, Bulldog, I've seen it. Because we support others. And so I take great pride that my chapter, the chapter that I am a part of, and it is not my chapter by any means, but the Northern Indiana chapter of which I'm a part, just a small part of, that our chapter has been able to do that and support others. And because of that, we have had support from others. But I know that's not the case for everyone. And I know that there's times where I've seen people travel 5, 10, 12 hours to an event weekend. But then you see other people that live within 2 to 3 hours that don't make that travel, that same travel for whatever reason. But then you turn around and you wonder where the support is on your end. Why aren't we getting that support? Well, whether it's wrong or right, the Northern Indiana chapter, we adopted a slogan and we stole it right off of Game of Thrones. We stole it right off of Game of Thrones, and that is that the North remembers. The North remembers, and we say it all the time. We remember. We remember who supports us, and we support them. And there's been times when we've supported others that we didn't necessarily get the support back from, and that didn't stop us from supporting them again. But you can't sit back and wonder where the support is for you if you don't yourself go out and support others. And like I said, it doesn't always mean that you have to have 10 guys at an event. Do you have some merch? Do you have something you can donate? Can your chapter maybe make a purchase or a donation to the chapter to help them out? Right? Can you at least send a couple of guys? Can maybe the captain or the co-cap or both or an officer maybe find the way to go? It might be a little bit out of your way, but go and support. Not everybody can go, and I know that. But it's such a small thing that matters so much to chapters when they see somebody, even if it's one guy, that's the representative of that chapter that can make it. It matters. It matters. Yes, Rob, it does sound like it does sound like the 17-hour car trip conversation that's waiting to happen. For sure. Come back over and we'll have that ride. We'll have that ride. Yeah. Rob also says, see it all too often. He's seen it all too often. Come see me. Don't expect me to come see you. Yeah. I know Dane has a good point here. Dane has a great point. Depending on where you live and the country you're in and how many chapters are there, he says it takes 5 to 6 hours for me to go to my chapter. Yeah. I get that. I get that. And maybe most of my critique for tonight, maybe most of this commentary for tonight, and I apologize for that if it doesn't affect you, if it's not directly related to you, but I get that. Over in Europe and outside of the States, really, there are several areas where there's one chapter representing an entire country, or there's just a couple. And so I totally get that. But here in the States, we have no excuse. We have no excuse for this. You know? I mean, look at a map. And outside of certain areas out west where the states are big and the chapters are small and the distance is wide, outside of that, you could basically throw a dart anywhere at the states, especially in the Midwest, the South, and the East, and even I would say to some parts of the West, the Southwest area. You could throw a dart on a map of the states, and brothers should be able to travel to that point that you just hit with a dartboard within 3 to 4 hours tops. Tops. So, what are we doing? What are we doing? We need to do better. We need to start planning now. We need to start planning now for next year. Pick out 2 or 3, even if it's just one. Pick out an event, start planning now, and start working on those relationships with the brothers that you might need to ask for a ride from. Start working on the carpool trips. Start working on trying to figure out where you can stay as a group. Start figuring that stuff out now so you can plan for it. Don't assume or hope that the money might be there and the planning doesn't need to happen for an event that you haven't been to in the past. If you've not been able to do it in the past because the finances aren't there or because the the timing isn't right or any of that other stuff, what makes you think that it's going to suddenly happen again next year? Or are you going to use the same excuses next year? And trust me, I get it. I get it. Everyone is in a different financial situation and people have health issues. And all of that comes into play, and I get it. But when I hear the same reasoning and the same excuses from people year to year, and they don't plan, and sometimes that's all it takes. That's all it takes. There's guys right now that I hear that are making plans to go to the World Meet in Stockholm. They're planning now. Why? Because it's expensive. Because it's expensive, but they know they want to go. And so now they're pinching their pennies. They may go to one event next year, but that's the one they want to go to. And so now each week they're setting aside a little bit of money, right? Now they're looking at flights so they can possibly get their flight the cheapest they can possibly get it. Now they're getting their passports if they have to do that. Not waiting till the last minute to try and get the passport because it's a priority for them. Because it's something they want to do. There are so many stateside, especially, folks. There's so many events that you can go to with a little bit of planning. There's the annual events that happen every single year that are regional. There's an East Coast meet. There's a West Coast meet, right? There's an event in the South. There's a few of them for sure. Then you have the individual chapter meets that happen that have become annual, right? Nash Vegas, Knox Villains. There's all sorts of them out there. But if you want to do those and it's not been a thing you've been able to do in the past, then what do you need to do? Something different. Don't do the exact same thing over and over again and expect different results, right? We've all heard that before. I think that's the definition of, they say, of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. If it's something you want to do and you've not been able to do in the past, then do something different than you've done in the past to prepare yourself so you can go to that thing next year. That's all we got to do. I would love to be able to start seeing attendance back up at our events next year. I would love to see, when you go to these events, you see people out of the blue that you haven't seen in a few years, or people that you've never seen before. And brothers that have been a part of BV for 4, 5, 6 years say, this is the first one that I've ever been to outside of my area. Because I took it upon myself to say, this has to happen. I want this to happen. I need to experience what BV is outside of my area. The people that do that for the first time, it's amazing. I can't even count how many times I've run into guys that was their first event that I happened to be at as well. Their first either international event or their first multi-chapter event. And that it opened their eyes in a completely different way to what BV can do. Not only for charity, but for the brothers themselves. And the connections that you have with people that are only online otherwise. And you get to meet them for the first time. You get to break bread with them for the first time. Give them a hug. Share a drink. Sit down in person and talk. You can't replace that. We are not an internet club. We are a group of brothers, an international group of brothers with like-mindedness, the same core values. You just got to set yourself up and give yourself the time that it takes to do what you got to do. We need to be better next year about supporting each other. We need to be better about supporting each other. We need to find a way to do it, even if it doesn't mean that we can't, if it means that we can't be there in person. We can still support each other. Absolutely. Well, I didn't expect to ramble on so much about that, but you know what happens when I do, and I get the comments in here jumping around. But yeah, we need to be supportive. We need to be supportive of our brothers, and I'll just leave it at that. We are in a time frame right now where we can plan. We don't have a lot going on. There's not a lot of events going on in the next 2.5 months. But once that calendar year flips around, we're going to start seeing some things again. And this is the time when we need to start planning. You may not be able to go to everything you want to. Maybe World Meet is not feasible for you. Stockholm's expensive. Aside from traveling to Stockholm, it's expensive from what I've heard. But so that may not be a meet that you can go to. That may not be something that you can go to. But there's others. There's others. I've laughed in conversations with Rob before because there's that certain block of time over in England, right? And Rob knows what I'm talking about. We've had this conversation before. There's this window of time that happens every year where it seems like there's like every week or every other week, there's a new meet. There's some sort of a regional meet in England represented by some other chapter. And it's like, if you're from over here, you have to just pick one, you know, because sometimes it's not possible to go. They don't put them on opposing weekends, one right after another, and you just make a week of it. I'd love for that. But aside from that, it seems like there's about a 6-week window or an 8-week window where it seems like it's boom, 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 boom over there. Well, you got your chances. You got your chances. They're spread out all over the place here stateside. You got your chances. Pick one, pick two. And while you're there, remind people about the event that you guys have. If you have an event that you'd love to see people at, right? Support each other. And by all means, support those who support you. Don't ever let that go. If you have chapters, if you have people, if you have brothers that are coming to you, that are going out of their way to enjoy a weekend or enjoy a day with you, don't ever lose that. Don't disrespect it by ignoring it. You need to return the favor in whatever ways possible. You need to return that favor. Not because they ask you to, because it's what's right. Be there for each other. Be there for each other. Well, guys, hey, I think I've done enough yelling and screaming for the night. I think I've done enough yelling and screaming for the night. If you have any thoughts on this, if you have any questions, if you have any ideas that you want me to talk about, you want me to bring up here on the show, by all means, shoot me a message. Shoot me a message and we'll get the topic on. If it matters to you and it's something that you want to carry, you want a conversation to happen with, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm not foolish enough to think that I have all the ideas in the world. All I do is I look around. I look around and see what's bothering brothers. I look around and see what's bothering me. And I say, let's talk about that. Let's have the conversations. You know we've done that before here. Some of our best shows have been that. And aside from that, I'm going to support as many chapters as I can with talking about the events that they have and brothers that are out there doing awesome things. And that's the way we're going to continue to do things here. But if you've got some ideas and you got somebody you want to talk to, you want me to talk to, you want a topic of conversation to come up, shoot me a message and let me know. And we'll line it up. We'll line it up. Because this train's not stopping anytime soon. We're going to keep this thing going. 5 years strong, and we're not even close to being done. So with that, guys, man, it's been an awesome time to get back on the mic. I will be back next week for sure. There is no cancellation next week. We'll be back next week, and for sure one of our topics of conversation is going to be talking about Beards Away and the success that they're going to be having this weekend, learning about all the stuff that they did. That's going to be a great time. and we'll just pick it up and we'll see where else the everything takes us. So I wish you guys the best. But before I do that, though, I do want to do a couple of things that we got off some tangents, right? And I didn't get a chance to talk about a few things that I wanted to merch wise. So of course we can't forget about that, and thankfully some people are still around to see that. But before we get into the merch world, let's hear a word from one of our partners here. Whether you're navigating the rugged terrain of the great outdoors or conquering the concrete jungle of the urban landscape, Bigfoot Beard Company has you covered. Bigfoot products are made with natural ingredients designed to help maintain a healthy, rich beard without leaving it feeling greasy and heavy. From classic cologne-inspired fragrances to fruity notes and earthy tones, there's sure to be a scent for every occasion. With worldwide shipping available, why not take an opportunity to walk on the wild side? Head over to Bigfoot Beard Company today. That's www.bigfootbeardco.com. Again, that's www.bigfootbeardco.com. All right. And hey, by the way, as Rob said earlier, Bigfoot has some specials on some new stuff. They've done some rebranding, repackaging, and some merch. So get over there at bigfootbeardco.com or .co. Bigfoot Beard. Yeah, you heard it. You heard it. Get out there. Even if you can't remember the website, just remember Bigfoot Beard, and then get out there and just search it. Google's an awesome thing. That's what I've always told people. What's the address for that? Just Google it. What's the product? What's the thing you need? You'll find it. You'll find it. Bigfoot's got a big footprint. Bigfoot's got a big footprint over there. So yeah, you'll find it. You'll find it. You'll find it. All right. So what I want to do here, let's talk. I've got a few merch items that I wanted to mention that I would be remiss if I did not bring into play here. So let's talk for a second. Real quick, people have asked if this is still available, and yes, it is. The Return of Ezra Crow World, not the Return of Ezra Crow, the Ezra Crow World Tour T-shirt. We usually close these off for the year, for that given year in November or the first few weeks of December. So for now, the sleeveless shirt, the 2 T-shirts, and the hoodie version are still available, and yeah, there's that. So if you're still interested and you haven't grabbed one of these things, make it a Christmas gift for yourself. It's a badass design. We've had lots of good thoughts and compliments on it. But yeah, it looks great. Our Ezra Crow World Tour T-shirt for 2024, or World Tour hoodie or sleeveless shirt. It's out there. It's available. Gonna grab it before it's gone. And once it's gone, it's gone. We have not done reprints of previous years. So maybe one day we might, but that's not really being planned right now. So once they're gone, they're gone. So don't miss out. All right, next up, we still have, and we're coming up on this time of year. I think these are still available. I didn't get a chance to verify and double check, but these South Mississippi patches coinciding with Christmas, just super cool. You've heard me just rave about these things. It looks like they're carved and painted out of wood. They're just awesome. So if you want to support our brothers down there, South Mississippi, go ahead. It's a patch set. Proceeds going towards Christmas charity stuff. So get out there and support our South Mississippi boys. There's some really cool, very detailed patches. Also up, I verified earlier, I cannot believe, it's not like they had a whole ton of these, so I cannot believe that these are still available. But I just went out to the website before the show started, and it's still out there for purchase. Now, that means that there could only be 1, 2, or 3 of these available. But what's really cool, guys, and I think I've talked about this a little bit, the bold and the striking colors of this pin from Central England, the Remembrance Day pin, says "Lest we forget" on it. Aside from the imagery and the colors and how it pops, aside from all that, the cool thing is it's not dated. It's not specific to a specific day of the year or anything like that. You can wear this all year long. If you're a hat wearer, if you're a pin wearer, if you get dressed up and want to wear something patriotic or something like that shows remembrance for those, then you can wear this year round. So very cool. The thing's only £9. Get out there and sell these things out for these guys, and finish closing that thing out. Also, Alberta put up in the last few weeks, last week or two, put out a really cool video talking about all the new merch that they have out right now. They've got I think they've got, I'm not sure. Well, I'm sure they have T-shirts, but specializing in some more fall type clothing, some hoodies, several variations of hoodies. They've got mugs. They've got, I mean, their whole website's just filled with stuff. They got a new design for a flag that's here on screen. They got a new patch coming out, new design. So all sorts of good stuff going on in Alberta right now. So hit them up, search for the BV Alberta Boys, and go help them out. Go buy some really cool brand new stuff that's coming out from them as well. And then also London, I don't think I've had a chance to mention this on the show yet when they went to the pre-sale. Now, the reason I'm specifically highlighting this right now is they've opened it up for anybody that wants to buy one of these things, buy one on a pre-sale. However, the pre-sale appears to end, at least on the first round, on the 15th of November. So it's coming up. It's coming up another week, and you can buy one of these. You can still order one of these on a pre-sale. And they vary in price slightly depending on a few different factors. But this is a striking ring. If you're a ring collector or you've never been a ring collector and you just want a cool ring and support the London chapter, man, get out there and grab one of these things. I think they have a few different variations of material that they're made out of. But go to their site, and it's beardedvillainslondonchapter.com, I think. But go over there. Again, worst case scenario, Google it. But London has this really cool ring. You need to grab one if you're a ring collector or you just want a cool ring. But very, very cool. Congrats to the boys, London boys, on this ring. And I know that they have some other merch. They've got some really bold, awesome looking T-shirts that they just recently released. They've got a few different things out there that are going off. So if you need some merch, and you need some merch from some chapters that you may not usually get stuff from, now's the time. Now's the time for sure. So go out there and support our London boys as well. Absolutely. That's what I've got right now. And if I've missing something from your chapter, if I've forgotten about it, please send it to me and say, yo, don't forget me. Don't forget us. And I will put you in. The minute you send me something, I take the pictures of that just so I remind myself, and I put it in a folder on my phone so that I go back each week and I check before when I'm preparing the show. Don't forget about these guys. Don't forget about this. So if you have for some reason sent me something in the last couple weeks and I have not shown it, then you can virtually slap me. But then remind me that there was something that I missed. I try not to do that, but of course I'm not perfect. So. But let's support our brothers, man. Let's support them in person. Let's support them in gift. Let's support them in kind, the way that they support us. And that I think, is going to wrap up episode 232 of this here program. Guys, I want to challenge you, as I do every week, to be the villain that the world needs you to be, because the heart of a villain never stops beating. The most important words I say every week, please remember them well. It's okay not to be okay. If you are hurting, please find a brother to talk to. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Until next week, I'll be back here again, chatting it up, having a great time for episode 233. Until then, have a great night, a great weekend. Take care. Stay safe.
Never underestimate the power of brotherhood. Every bro, every chapter, every caption. Heart of a villain, bro. Lights, camera,